I'm gonna toss Brian Mitchell under the bus here a little bit. I heard him and Lincoln talking one day, and I loved it. Um, Lincoln was saying something I don't quite remember, but Brian had said to him that I can't have a relationship for God I can't have a relationship with God for you.
Yeah.
That's up to you. I can lead you in the direction that you need to go,
Yep.
but you have to have that relationship. And, and God says that to him right there. You've listened to all these commands of Moses. Now you have to trust me.
Yeah.
Be courageous. Do not be discouraged because the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And that might have been something that, Joshua might necessarily, you didn't necessarily think about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know for sure the Israelites didn't think about it.
Right.
Because they're constantly getting in trouble throughout all of Exodus. But just having that reminder, hey, I was with Moses, but I'm with all of you.
Yep.
I'm not just with your leader. It's not just the pastor that gets to hear from God.
That's right.
It's other people.
Well, and that's one of the things that we're always trying to press on people at our church is, yes, we have an overarching vision for Word of Life. We have the mission that God has called us to, and I have that conviction because I remember sitting in a booth at a Hy-Vee in Moline that's no longer even open at 6:00 in the morning 12 years ago, waiting to have breakfast with another pastor. And God gave me the mission statement for our church to know, be known, and make known. I have it still on a napkin in my office that I wrote it down on. And so we have an overarching vision. We're going to be a church that God raises up leaders continually, and we're going to plant other churches. But we're always encouraging all of our leaders to hear from God, saying, hey, let God give you a vision for your ministry area. Let God show you what He wants to do uniquely in your life and in your ministry and in the area that God is calling you to steward. Now, those things need to be in alignment ultimately with the greater vision for the church, but everybody should be hearing from God. If it's somebody that is working in the kitchen, they should be hearing from God about how that they can make that kitchen look. I think about Audrey Fordyce, right? That woman has a vision for kitchen ministry. Or maybe it's somebody that's working in the nursery. Well, there you have Hannah. She's got a vision for the way that nursery is going to operate and run. And hopefully her volunteers have a vision for how they're going to interact with the kids and love on the kids. And it does. It's not a trickle down because it's not my vision becoming your vision. It's your vision and my vision coming into alignment with what God is calling both of us to do.
It's like all of these books.
Yeah.
They're all very different people.
That's right.
But they all have the exact same mission.
Yeah.
They all have one goal, and it's Jesus.
Yeah.
The church can't run off of a single Moses.
That's right.
It runs off of multiple Joshuas. And, and if that's something that you guys want to grow with, we have a ton of resources here that you guys can kind of dive into, and you can figure out how to unlock this spirit of Joshua within you,
right.
Where you are, the servant leader that Jesus has called you to be. So a little plug for the growth track. It's an excellent start. But we need to be training people to be this vision of Joshua.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because he speaks to him specifically about a promise. And he says, wherever you set your foot, you will be on land that I have given you. And then he gives these huge boundaries, right? And one of the things that I am working on in my relationship with God is having the faith to believe for bigger things. I am very pragmatic. I can be incredibly practical. I grew up in a household where we never had an abundance of money. And so my whole life I've just always thought of, okay, how can I use what I have and be able to get by, And not that I don't live in blessing and that there hasn't been abundance. God has been very, very good to me over the years. But sometimes when things are presented, I'll be like, okay, God, yeah, I appreciate that offer. I'll take this little square right here, and then I'll be comfortable with that. And God's going, no, I've given you all of this. You need to take advantage of everything I'm giving you. Do you think?
I mean, you look at Jesus' ministry,
Yeah.
and it's like he didn't stay in he didn't stay where he was at.
Right.
You know, he had to move. If we're not willing to get up and move, how do we spread God's word? How do we touch the people in the community around us? How are we, you know, it's daunting,
Yeah.
right? Because it goes back to that comfortability thing. I like to be comfortable. I like knowing what's going to come next. I like, you know, I like new things, but at the same time, not if they're scary.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it's scary stuff, doing new things for God. Because he stretches you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, we want to be able to be happy with what we have right now and not be jealous of other people. We don't want to covet what other people have. We don't want to compare ourselves to what other people are doing. But at the same time, I think sometimes we're too quick to be satisfied. You know, and God is always calling us to more, and he's wanting us to stretch those boundaries and to believe him and to expect for greater and bigger things in our lives. And I just think, man, I need to sometimes remember the promise that God has given me and be willing to take that walk and broaden that horizon a little bit more and believe for bigger things and better things than what I've experienced.
And because when God gives you this giant area and he goes, this is all yours, wherever you step.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't take any steps?
That's right.
Right? Is that it then? You know, God has said, I have an abundance for you. Get up and move.
That's right.
Take it.
I think that's such an important part here that, yeah, it was all theirs, but if they weren't willing to go in, then it was going to go to somebody else. Somebody else was going to take advantage of it. Then he says, no one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. Those are some big words, man. I mean, first of all, he has the time that he spent with Moses as a reminder to him of what God would do. I mean, that's awesome in and of itself. But he says to him, I will be with you, and I will not fail you or abandon you. What do you think that says to Joshua?
That even if he feels that he's going the wrong direction, even if he feels that he is failing at what he's doing, God is with him. Mm-hmm. God is there to build him up. God is his provider. God is his strength. He is his pillar. He is the foundation on which he stands. God is for him. And he's letting him know that, hey, you're going to feel like you're going through some of this.
Yeah.
I don't fail. I don't abandon you. Mm-hmm. I don't do these things that humans do. I'm right here.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel like that. As we move through Joshua here, we're going to hit some conflicts where Joshua's going to feel alone.
Yeah.
Joshua's going to feel abandoned, that he's going to feel that he doesn't quite have the faith to do this. But God is there. You know, and it's just kind of a reminder that, you know, as we're going through our day-to-day stuff, that when it's hard, we have somebody to lean into. Mm-hmm. When it's good, we have someone to praise. When it's bad, we have someone to praise. You know, God is always there. And he lets us kind of go through stuff here and there. But at the same time, we get these moments where he goes, you know what? We're going to go to the promised land.
Yeah.
We're going to have peace. We're going to have abundance. We're going to have these things. But it's also going to suck every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, he says no one will be able to stand against you. He doesn't say no one will stand against you. So right from the gate, there is this understanding that, hey, Joshua, you're going to take this land but it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a fight, but ultimately they're not going to stand against you. And that doesn't even mean that you're not going to get hit once in a while. Doesn't even mean that you're not going to get knocked down. It just means that if you continue to persist and trust in me, you are going to be victorious.
I mean, it goes back to that verse, no weapon formed, against me shall prosper.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that, if a weapon may be
Right.
formed against you, it's no weapon formed. It's a guarantee
Yeah.
that there is weapons that are coming against you, that there is spirits coming against you, but God is for you. So
That's right. I love those two thoughts, that God will not fail or abandon. Because, first of all, God doesn't fail. But how many times do we look at situations and think, oh, God made a mistake here? Or, oh, God didn't show up? Or we think, any number of negative things about God because we fail to take into consideration his character and his nature.
And I think that it's okay in rough situations that, I've just went through some stuff kind of recently with my sister, and I kind of cried out to God, just why?
Sure.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
God
absolutely.
wants to have these conversations with us. And I had to make sure that, my heart was in a place that I wasn't saying, why, God, did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
Just why?
Yeah.
And I know that God is good. I know that God is for me. I know that God sees in 8 different dimensions, whereas I can only see in 3, right?
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to see as far as God does. God remembers everything that ever was, and he remembers all of the stuff that hasn't even come yet.
That's right.
So it's insane for somebody to go, well, this shouldn't have gone like that.
Yeah.
When somebody has already seen the end of the game, he was like, just calm down where you're at, and it hurts, and it's not fun, and it's heartbreaking, and all of these different things. But understanding that God will not fail us, that God is with us, God is for us, just kind of helps you kind of get through some of those moments where you're like, I felt like you might not have been there.
Yeah.
But you were. I mean, you say it to us. You said that promise was good for Moses. You said it was good for Joshua. You said it was good for Jesus. You said it was good for John. You said it was good for everybody moving forward in this book, that you were there, that you were with them, that you were for them. It didn't stop there. It happened with you. It happened with me. And like Joshua here, who witnessed extremely miraculous visual miracles. We might witness some miracles kind of here and there, but I mean, we don't typically see the stuff of, splitting the sea or opening up the earth and swallowing people whole in an instant, right? We don't normally get to see some of these things, whereas Joshua was there.
Yep.
Joshua saw the veiled face of Moses because he had spent so much time with the Lord that he started reflecting that light off of him.
Mm-hmm.
And Joshua still had to be reminded,
Yeah.
I don't fail. I'm here with you.
Yeah, it's amazing how easy we forget sometimes.
I mean, there's a couple books there that just show the Israelites. And it's funny because, like, when you read through it all at once, going through, Exodus and Leviticus and Deuteronomy, and then you start hitting all of these stories, you're like, why? Why are you guys like this?
Yep.
How dumb are you guys? Like 2 chapters back, and it's months, it's years,
Sure.
it's spread out, but still you're looking at it and you're like, this just happened.
Yeah.
You just saw him split the entire sea. You saw him create a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night to guide you where to go. And immediately you guys are like, time to build a calf,
Yeah.
right? So it's,
And we do the same things.
yeah, then you hit it, you start reading it and you're like, that's so dumb. And you're like, just last week I did something stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we're so aware in the moment of God's goodness, and then the moment that passes, we go right back to questioning and being fearful and doubting and wondering, what's going to happen. And that's when we have to remind ourselves, He hasn't abandoned me. God hasn't gone anywhere. He hasn't changed. The situation may have changed, but God hasn't. So if I hang on to Him, if I keep my eyes on Him, I'm going to come through this and get into another good season, of a place where I want to be again.
And I think it's easy to want to be in a position where God is using me for His glory.
Yeah.
I want to be in that position all the time. But sometimes I'm in the position where I'm trying to do things that show the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mutual thing that has to kind of go back and forth. I have to have that trust in God that what I'm doing is according to His will.
Yeah.
And I do it for Him. I do it because He loves me. I do it because He has saved me. I do it because, we have this relationship. It's not just Him doing stuff for me, handing me stuff, and just keeping me in Candyland.
Yeah.
Sometimes stuff, kind of stinks.
Sometimes it does. And I think that's why here in this next section, in verse 6, God says to him, "Be strong and courageous." Those words get repeated in Joshua over and over and over again. So when you hear those words, be strong and courageous, what comes to mind?
Just don't be like the generation before you. The constant fear of, we don't have enough food, we don't have enough water, we're walking too far, we've been out here for too long, we've been doing all of these things. And instead of looking at the things that God has done for them and saying, well, God has provided for me so far.
Yeah.
God has given me the things that I need. I've had to do stuff, but God has given me everything that I have needed. I need to remember to have that faith in Him. I need to remember to walk in that. So when he's saying be brave and courageous, it's going to seem like, you're walking too far. It's going to seem like, that Joshua, doesn't have enough food.
Yep.
That because they're going from this place where everything has kind of been given to them, out in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
And now they're hitting this area where it's like, all right, things are going to start shifting. You guys are going to be independent now.
Right.
He goes, but I'm still here. You just need to listen to me again.
Yeah.
But we have very short-term memories.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. So for me, the strong part is my strength has to be in who God is. My strength can't be in who I am. Now, it might be in who He is in me, and I can, have confidence in the fact that His strength will show up in and through my life. But to be strong, to stay strong, I have to constantly be reminding myself of who He is. It's the courageous part that I often struggle with, because that involves taking risk. That involves not always being able to have everything planned out, not knowing exactly how things are going to work. And that's scary for me sometimes. But the longer I walk with God, the more I realize that He is calling us not into blind faith, but just into a trusting faith of knowing that He's going to show us each step of the time. He's going to give us the vision, but He may not show us how it's all going to work out in the beginning. He might tell us where we're going to end up. Hey, Abram, I'm going to take you to this new territory. Or, hey, Abram, I'm going to give you a son. But we may not know all of the action steps that are going to require of faith to be able to get us to that place where He has told us that we're going to get to.
It just makes me think of that scene in Indiana Jones where he's standing there and he's like, I got to make that jump.
The invisible bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but it's not an invisible bridge. Sometimes we can see the other side. We can see it there. And it's God has given you the ability to make that jump.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do it.
Right.
You know, it might look scary underneath, but it's a jumpable distance.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sometimes we look at it like it's that invisible bridge, that
Right.
it's this blind leap. And he's like, no, I got you.
Yeah.
We're going to go through this. I feel like it's like trying to get, it's trying to get like one of my kids to do something, or, Asher's standing on the edge of the pool and I'm like, just jump into my arms.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm going to catch you. You weigh like 40 pounds. We can do this. And he's like, no. And then he just kind of like slides into the pool. And it's like, you have the ability, right? You just have to trust me.
Yep.
You have to put your faith into me that I want you to be safe. I want you to live. I want you to stay above the water. And that's what he's telling Joshua right here. He's like, I got you. Let's make this leap. I'm going to catch you.
Yep.
I want your head above this water. I mean, we'll see that here in a little bit as they cross the Jordan, but
Sure. That's a good point.